Hello, and welcome to the Criminology class for the fall of 2022 here at Glenville State University. In this semester, we are going to be studying why people commit crime, or theories of crime commission. Everyone has a theory about why people commit crime. If you ask my mother, she will try to find how someone has been hurt in their life. If you see someone committing armed robbery, well, somebody has to have hurt them in life. Or if you ask some of my other friends why people commit crime, well, it's just because they're selfish and they don't care about anybody but themselves. There are a lot of different reasons why people might commit crime. Now, when I say why they do commit crime, that's kind of a misnomer because we're also going to look at some theories that just assume everyone will commit crime, and they ask the question, well, then why do people not commit crime? Why do they refrain from crime? But there are some other issues that are involved in this and that we need to look at. So I want to share my screen now so that you can see the PowerPoint slides. One of the theories that we will be looking at are Marxist theories, or a family of theories, at least one of the families of theories. Marx claimed that criminal laws were put into place so that the ruling class could maintain control over the class that's being ruled. In other words, we shouldn't ask, why do people commit crime, but why does the ruling class decide that something is a crime? And the answer to that is usually so that they can continue to be the ruling class. And indeed, there may, in fact, be some laws that fit that dynamic. However, it's also important to understand that Marx believed this about, Marxists at least believe this about all laws. In fact, the criminalization of sexual assault or rape. A Marxist would say that while that might be inherently wrong to violate the rights of another, the only reason that it's written into the criminal code is because the ruling class believes that they own their wives or the women in their lives. And so this is more about protecting their property than it is about protecting the rights of the individual woman. Okay, right or wrong, it's good that we have the rape laws on the book. Okay, but there are a couple of things we need to understand. There are laws that are mala in se and mala prohibita. Now, mala in se laws are those things that are inherently wrong, bad, or evil. Murder, sexual assault, theft, things like that. And then we have laws that are mala prohibita. They are wrong because we as a society have decided that these particular behaviors are wrong. For example, underage drinking. Technically, if you are 20 years old and 364 days, and somebody sells you alcohol, they are breaking the law. Now, why is it inherently wrong that on day 364 of your 20th year, it's wrong for them to sell you alcohol, but then day 365, or your birthday, it is not? I mean, let's think about that. When it comes to the mala prohibita laws, we understand that young folks, their brains are still developing. I mean, even when they're sober, it's hard to see them as having the same culpability for their behaviors as adults. So to add alcohol to that mix would be even more lethal. So we've made this a law because we understand the problems of youth, but Usually when it comes to the mala prohibita laws, especially ones that are based on numbers or limits, we have to have some cutoff. So, mala in se and mala prohibita. When we talk about these theories of crime, perhaps we're talking more about the mala in se laws than we are mala prohibita. Unfortunately, the criminologists who've developed all of these theories don't really consider this. In fact, one of the things they try to do is look for a single theory that will explain all criminal behavior. Well, when we look at this dichotomy and we understand the truth, that kernel of truth that we can find in Marxist theory, and please don't think I'm a Marxist because I am not at all, neither politically nor as a criminologist. But that one point within Marxist theory, I do believe is valid. Throughout this semester, I hope you study it for yourself and you're reading both sides of the issue and you're forming your own conclusion based on logic and science. But when we look at these, then we start to understand that the idea of crime is more complex. So perhaps a single theory that explains all crime is not even possible. Something else we need to be aware of: the dichotomy of free will versus determinism. Free will means that we freely make the choice to do things. Determinism means that factors led up to the behavior that we engaged in. It was determined by the factors that led up to it. For example, we might say that addicts are more likely to have suffered childhood sexual abuse. So childhood sexual abuse determined that this person would become an addict. Or we might say that someone who grows up in a home where their parents are criminals are more likely to become criminals. So that context of child rearing determined that they would become a criminal. I'm going to put it this way: I believe that a combination of the two. See, most folks see this as a dichotomy. It's either one or the other. I believe that determinism lays the foundation, but that in the end, most human beings still have a choice and the free will to make that choice. So that's important for us to understand. So the mala in se versus mala prohibita, the free will versus the determinism. And let's also remember the Marxist concept that laws are created so that the ruling class can keep in subjection the class that is being ruled. Now, when I say there's a kernel of truth in that, I do believe that there are some laws that are like that. I do believe that our culture does make some of those laws, but not all of them fit that. Keep in mind that all of these theories likely do have a kernel of truth in them somewhere. Now, at the end of the semester, I hope that you start to think about how all of these theories can maybe be integrated into a single whole. In other words, taking what's valid from each one and combining them into a better theory, an integrationist theory. But we'll get into that later in the semester. We'll see you next video.